Hey guys, this is week 24 of Samachar Manthan, and the first topic of your environment and science and tech is protect the little helpers. Now, this term, little helpers, is given in the context of bees, which are pollinators. Now, first of all, I would like you to read this editorial. The name of the editorial itself is Protect the Little Helpers. Definitely you must read it because there are many interesting terms which are given in this editorial that you could incorporate in your answers in mains. This topic of pollination is important for mains. Some things can be asked in prelims as well. So the first thing that we need to understand is the meaning of the term pollination. Now, pollination means fertilization, reproduction in plants, and it is done through pollinators. Now, pollinators are a diverse group of animals, which animals and insects like bees. You can have bats, you can have birds, butterflies, etc. So these are a wide range of animals which help in pollination or fertilizing plants. Now, fertilization is done when the male part, that is the pollen grain is transferred from the male part of the plant, which is the anther, to the female part, which is the stigma. Now, when this pollen is transferred from male to female part, pollination is said to occur, and pollination is done with the help of pollinators. That is why these are extremely important. These small insects and birds are extremely important in this process. Let us talk about the importance of pollination. Now, there was a report in 2015 by an organization called IPBES. This organization is important. So you must quote this organization, this report as well when you are talking about importance of pollinators. Now, pollination, this report of IPBES of 2015, it said that pollinators added about $0.8 to $1.5 billion to agri GDP. Now, this was the contribution of pollinators to agri GDP in 2015, but this is an underestimation. It is an underestimation because the IPBES report studied only six vegetable crops, whereas in tropical areas 70% of crops depend on pollination. Now, we studied only six vegetable crops, and that GDP itself amounted to from 1 to 1.5 billion US dollars. So when we cover all these 70%, this amount will get hugely inflated. It will be hugely increased. So this is the importance of pollinators to agri GDP. Just a small digression here. 70% of tropical plants do require pollination, but there are certain crops which do not require pollination. Now, this can be asked in your prelims, and some examples of these crops which do not require pollination are cereals and potato. Now, this can be asked in your prelims. Let us now talk about the status of pollinators. We have seen that these are extremely important in terms of economic value. What is happening to pollinators now? There is an alarming reduction in their population. This is the first trend that we are seeing today. An alarming reduction in their population. Bees are deserting their hives. They suffer from, I'm talking about bees only, they suffer from memory and olfactory Olfactory is the spelling. It means anything related to smell. So they are losing their capability to smell. So they suffer memory and olfactory impairments. So this is the sad status of pollinators, especially bees, that we are noticing as of now. Then we talk about the threats to pollinators. I'll have to rub this off. Coming to what are the threats pollinators face today, the number one threat is reduction of natural habitats. Now, natural habitats, because huge amounts of land is getting cleared for monoculture. Human population across the globe is increasing. We require food security. So for that, monoculture agriculture is increasing. For economic purposes, also plantations are required. So all these are taking a toll on natural habitats, natural lands. Then use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers is another problem, because as we require food security, as we require income security, we need to increase agricultural production, which is again important for industrial growth as well. So to increase agricultural production, pesticides and chemical fertilizers are being rampantly used. So this again is causing problems in the natural world. So these are the threats that pollinators face. Now, what is the evidence that we are having low pollination? Because pollinators are reducing, because they are facing huge threats, there will naturally be low pollination. And what is the evidence, especially in India, when we talk about of low pollination? So the first evidence is reduction in yields, reduction in yield of Kashmir apples. This is the first specific evidence that we have. So quote this in your answers. The second evidence is reduction in yield of mustard crop in North India or Northern India. So these are the evidences which we have. Let us now talk about the steps that the global community is taking towards improving the situation. So we are talking about steps taken by global community. All right, let it be a little neater. Okay, so steps taken by global community. The first is that after the IPBES report, almost 20 countries have joined the coalition of the willing on pollinators. Now, this organization, almost 20 countries have joined this after the IPBES report came out. The second step globally is the EU's, European Union's pollinators initiative was launched in June of 2018. Then even USA, the Trump land, it has set up a pollinator health task force and has got a national strategy towards improving the situation. Even UK has got a similar national pollinator strategy. So you can see that all around the world we are seeing a focus on improving the health of pollinators, which is important for agriculture, for fertilization of crops, naturally for food security, income security. So these steps are being taken globally. And let us now talk about what is the way forward for India. India also need to take caution. So the first step is promote organic agriculture. Pesticides and chemical fertilizers are causing problems, therefore promote organic agriculture. Step number 1. Step number 2, provide financial incentives to farmers so that they leave some land, they leave strips of land which contain nectar and pollen rich plants, so that these attract bees and they can pollinate. Bees can be healthier. So you can provide financial incentives to farmers to leave these strips of land which will contain nectar and pollen rich plants. The next way forward could be a reconversion of reserve forests into natural lands. Today what is happening is huge chunks of reserve forest land is being converted into pulpwood plantations. Pulpwood plantations. So some of this land can be reconverted into its original wild nature. The next step could be fallow areas and government lands. Government has got huge land, so fallow areas and government land could be used to plant flowering trees or flowering crops or flowering plants. Flowering plants. So these are the steps that India can take in improving the health of bees. Then let us talk about something that can be asked in your prelims, and this is about the organization IPBES. The full form is given in your notes. Please refer that. The first is that it is an intergovernmental body. This is very, very important. This is the nature of this organization, that it is an intergovernmental body, very similar to the IPCC. Now, just like IPCC, the IPBES also is mandated to do research in the field of pollination and pollinators and provide policy inputs to decision makers. So that is its original mandate. Now, although it is an intergovernmental body with around 128 countries being its members, this does not mean that civil society organizations are not its members. I mean, they are not members in the technical sense of the term. Only countries can become members, but civil society, a large chunk of NGOs, civil society organizations, they are a part of the IPBES in the capacity of observers. Now, they help the IPBES in doing its work, but the members only countries can become. Next is besides policy support, that is providing policy inputs, the IPBES also does capacity building projects as well as public awareness exercises. So this is another field. One is policy support. Let me just write it. Policy support. Besides this, we also have capacity building and awareness generation or public awareness generation. So this is the tasks which this organization does. So that will be all in this topic, guys. The next topic is a very specific one. It is about pneumonia. Now, pneumonia won't be asked in mains. A few things can be asked in prelims, but specifically in mains, this would be a very, very minute topic. But this can come as a part of a question dealing with under 5 mortality in India. And of under 5 mortality, pneumonia is one of the largest causes. So the heading is defeating pneumonia. defeating pneumonia. So it was in news because the Partnership for Maternal, Newborn and Child Health Summit will be held in December 2018. Let me write the name of the summit. It is the Partnership for Maternal, Newborn and Child Health Summit. Now this is going to be held in December of 2018. In 2016, pneumonia was, let me refer to pneumonia as P and a circle. Pneumonia was the leading cause of under 5 mortality in India. Now, this was evidenced by a report called Fighting for Breath. Know the name of this report, quote this report as well as the organization which produced it in your answers in mains. So, Fighting for Breath is the report which evidenced this, and this report has been produced by Save the Children. Save the Children NGO. This is the name of the organization. Now, let us get some other points. India has got the world's largest share in pneumonia related deaths. So, world's largest share. Okay, in pneumonia related deaths. Now, there are two main causes for this. The first is lack of vaccination, and the second is air pollution. If we talk about lack of vaccination, in 2016 it was found that more than 25 million kids in India alone, more than 25 million kids, don't write kids in your exam, write children. More than 25 million children in India were found to be unvaccinated, and these were under 2 years of age. Under 2 years of age. Now there is a vaccine by the name of pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. Now you don't need to write the name of the vaccine in your mains, but in prelims it may be asked, so you need to know the name of the vaccine is pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, TCV. Okay, in terms of air pollution, both outdoor and indoor air pollution are responsible for pneumonia related deaths. Now, what is the way forward? So, what can be done to prevent these deaths? The first step is exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months after childbirth. For the first 6 months to the child. The second is there should be integrated multi-sectoral action plans. We can have integrated multi-sectoral action plans. The third step can be that there has to be a participatory approach. Government alone will not be able to do that much, will not be able to be as much effective as when we include civil society organizations, when we include corporates, when we include citizens. So there has to be a participatory approach in fighting pneumonia related deaths in India. So that will be all in this topic. The next topic is related to science and tech and is important for prelims. For mains, it is not that important. So the topic is world's largest brain-like human brain. So brain-like computer, brain-like supercomputer, switched on for the first time. Switched on for the first time. Now, this brain-like supercomputer, the name is Spinnaker. SPINNAKER. The full form is Spiking Neural Network Architecture. Let me just write the full form here. Spiking Neural Network Architecture. Now this is the brain-like supercomputer, world's largest. This is also important. Now brain-like, whenever you talk about the brain, it is made of what is known as neurons. Now neurons are nerve cells which work through spikes of electrochemical energy. Neurons are nerve cells which work through spikes. Now this spike and this spike, please notice, these are nerve cells which work through spikes of electrochemical energy. That's all you need to know. So this is how neurons function. Now we have developed, not we, I mean not India, it is actually the United Kingdom which has made this computer. So the UK has developed a supercomputer which mimics these spikes. So this is what is the spiking that we are referring to in this full form here. So this is generically known as artificial neuron network. This neuron is what justifies the brain-like supercomputer term here, and it is artificial because it is man-made naturally. So it is a man-made replica of the natural or biological neuron network. The second point is that it is not a specific algorithm. Now you need to understand algorithm. The meaning of the term algorithm. Algorithm basically means a set of instructions which are required to execute any task. Say for example, if there is any simple machine which can do only one task, it has to be programmed to do that one task. Now that program will be the algorithm. Now this brain-like supercomputer Spinnaker, it is not one specific algorithm. It is in fact a framework of different algorithms, and this framework allows it to do multiple tasks. So it doesn't have one algorithm for each task. It is just containing a framework, and the machine itself decides out of that framework how to execute that task in the best possible manner. So this is what is the brain-like feature, spiking neural network architecture, the brain-like feature of Spinnaker. The next point is about Spinnaker. So let us write a few things about Spinnaker which can be asked in your prelims. The first point is that it is the most advanced, it is the largest and the most advanced supercomputer, brain-like supercomputer. This is the important term. It is the most advanced and largest brain-like supercomputer in the world, and it has been made in the United Kingdom by University of Manchester, if you are interested in that. This University of Manchester won't be asked in exam. United Kingdom, you need to know. Then it can run complex, large-scale, real-time simulations. So complex because it is brain-like. This gives it the capacity to run complex, large-scale, real-time simulations. Now, this capacity will help scientists in understanding how the human brain works. Now, the human brain is the most wonderful, the greatest engineering marvel of nature. Now, this machine is going to help scientists in understanding how the human brain functions. Now, this is done through complex, large-scale, real-time simulations. Then, what is the importance of understanding how the human brain functions? We can develop solutions, medicines for diseases like Parkinson's, etc. So this is the benefit, medical benefits are there. Then this can also help, the complex simulations can also help in creating advanced robots, artificial intelligence. So in creating advanced robots. So that is all that you need to know about Spinnaker. Just one thing, we talked about artificial neuron network. Now this was a generic term. We can also refer to it as neuromorphic computing. So don't get confused if the term neuromorphic computing is used. This is just a genre which can be used for machines like Spinnaker. Neuromorphic computing or computers, whatever. One thing that is important and can be asked in prelims is the meaning. Now, while the conventional computers, they can transfer large amounts of information from point A to point B, this brain-like supercomputer or Spinnaker can transfer huge amounts of small packets of data. So we can say that billions of small packets of data can be transferred to thousands of different locations. So it can be D, E, F, G. So these are the destinations. So thousands of destinations can be there and billions of small packets of data can be transferred to these simultaneously. Now this is the important point. So simultaneously, these small packets of information can be transferred to thousands of different destinations. This thing cannot be done in conventional computers. That is, they can only transfer from point A to point B. However, the volume of the data can be huge in conventional computers, but the transfer is only linear from one point to another point, while this is not the case in this Spinnaker. So that will be all in this topic, guys. The next topic is a sort of an addition to your already existing notes. It is not that much relevant for mains, but in prelims definitely a few things can be asked. The heading is Asian Development Bank grants $13 million for energy efficiency projects in India. Now, about ADB question can be asked, and there is another term, that is EESL. The full form is Energy Efficiency Services Limited. So about this organization also questions can be asked in prelims. Now this fund, $13 million, is a grant, not a loan. It is a grant which will be provided by the Global Environment Facility. Question can also come about GEF in prelims. So this is a grant which will be provided by the Global Environment Facility, and this grant will provide additional funds for an ongoing ADB sponsored energy efficiency project. This ongoing ADB sponsored project is demand side energy efficiency sector project. This is the name of the project. Now this project was approved by the Asian Development Bank in 2016, and the objective is to install LEDs in case of street lamps, and also provide LEDs to households for lighting purposes. We can also have energy efficient water pumps under this project, and all these, that is LEDs for street lighting, for housing lighting, and energy efficiency water pumps, all across India. So it covers the whole of India, not just any particular region or state. Now this project also strengthens another project, which is the National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency. We have already talked about this in just a few lectures back. I think it was 20th or 21st lecture, if I'm not wrong. We discussed all the other 7 missions also, and this can be added, this information can be added to this part. Then about EESL, we have seen that a question can be asked, so let us talk about EESL. Now this body is a joint venture between NTPC, Power Finance Corporation, Rural Electrification Corporation, and Power Grid. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 companies have come together in the form of a joint venture and formed the EESL. This is under the Ministry of Power, and the objective is to facilitate implementation of energy efficiency projects in India. That's all you need to know about EESL. Now we can talk about GEF, Global Environment Facility. Now this is the first point. Let me write it here. Global Environment Facility. It is an international partnership. International partnership which contains 183 countries, international institutions, civil society organizations, as well as private sector. So this is a very broad membership. It has got a very broad membership of countries, that is governments, international institutions, civil society organizations, as well as the private sector. This is something that can be asked in prelims. Then it was first formed in 1991 under the World Bank, and its initial partners were the UNDP as well as the UNEP. But on the eve of the 1992 Rio Earth Summit, the Global Environment Facility was reformed, restructured, and it was moved out of the World Bank and was established as a permanent and separate institution with its headquarters in Washington, DC in USA. So as of today, it is a permanent and separate body, although the World Bank is its trustee. The World Bank is still its trustee, but it is in the nature of a permanent separate body established or headquartered in the Washington DC in United States of America. The next point is the functions that it has. So it provides grants as well as co-financing for a wide range of environment related projects. All right, now this wide range is we can say that the focus areas, which are 6, these include climate change, biodiversity, international waters, ozone, POPs, and land. Land will include desertification, deforestation, and degradation. So these are the 6 focus areas in which the projects are financed or co-financed by the Global Environment Facility. The next point is that the GEF is the official financing mechanism of the UNFCCC, the UNCCD, the UNCBD or just the CBD, Stockholm Convention on POPs, and the Minamata Convention on Mercury. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 agreements are served by the GEF in the capacity of official financing mechanism. Very, very important. You need to know these 5. You need to know these 6 focus areas. Can be asked. You need to know grants and co-financing is the nature of the support that it provides. So can be asked in exam. You need to know one more thing, that although it is not an official financial mechanism or official financing mechanism of the Montreal Protocol, it does provide support for its implementation, that is the implementation of Montreal Protocol in developing countries. Now this is important. It is official financial mechanism of only 5 agreements, not including the Montreal Protocol. But now it really depends on the language of your option in prelims. So officially it is financing only these 5 agreements, but unofficially it is also supporting implementation of Montreal Protocol in developing countries. So that would be this point. And the next is about the meeting. So the first meeting of GEF was held in 1998 in India, and this was the first. And the latest meeting was held in 2018 in Vietnam, and this was the 6th meeting. Now you can see that 1998 to 2018 is good about 20 years, and in 20 years we have seen only 6 meetings. So every meeting is held about 3 to 4 years. The gap is 3 to 4 years. So that will be all in the Global Environment Facility. The next topic is important mainly for prelims. In mains, it won't be asked. It is specifically about diabetes. And in fact, diabetes is becoming a huge problem today, especially for young Indians, because of sedentary lifestyle and all those things. So there will be certain practical points as well for you, for your beneficial for your life in this particular topic. The name is National Body set up to study rare form of diabetes. Now this rare form is monogenic. Mono means one, genic refers to genes. So monogenic diabetes, and this diabetes happens due to mutations or changes in a single gene, monogenic. So the name itself explains that. So mutations in a single gene. That is why it is rare. That means the more common forms of diabetes like type 1 and type 2, these are multigenic diabetes. All right. In case of monogenic diabetes, most cases are inherited. All right. Let us now talk about diabetes. This can be asked in your exam in prelims. Now, diabetes is a metabolic disorder in which there is high blood sugar level. So the first point is that it is a metabolic disorder wherein we have high blood sugar levels. Now this high blood sugar can happen for two reasons. The first is reduction in insulin production. Insulin in the body. Insulin is a hormone which is produced by the pancreas. Now this is again important, can be asked in prelims. So when the pancreas is not able to produce enough insulin, the blood sugar levels increases. Let us talk about the function of insulin. Insulin is required to convert glucose into energy. So it is a hormone which converts glucose into energy, and it is produced by the pancreas. The second reason is that cells do not respond well to insulin. All right. So when insulin is not produced as per the requirement, this type of diabetes is called type 1 diabetes. When cells do not respond, this is type 2 diabetes. Now, this is a lifestyle disease. That is, type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease. It happens because of sedentary lifestyle. So please go out, pasina nikalo, mehnat karo. If you become a couch potato, if you keep studying, just give the reason that I can't exercise because I've got too much to study. That is an invitation for type 2 diabetes. All right. So it is a lifestyle disease, but the cause of type 1 diabetes is unknown. The cause of type 2 diabetes is sedentary life. The cause of type 1 diabetes is unknown. All right. So that would be pretty much it. Yeah, in the heading we talked about the national body. So this body is the name is National Monogenic Diabetes Study Group, and it is coordinated by ICMR, MDRF and DMDSC. The full forms of these are given in your notes. Please refer your notes. Secondly, activities of the National Monogenic Diabetes Study Group, the national body. These are also given in your notes. Basically, they are all generic points. It is only about studying, that is researching monogenic diabetes and providing policy making inputs to decision makers. So that is the main activity. So you can refer your notes for more detailed explanation, but nothing else is there. So that would be all in this topic, guys. The next topic is a military exercise, and it will end before you know it. Not the exercise, but the topic. There's nothing much to discuss. The name of the topic is Samudra Shakti. Samudra Shakti is a naval exercise. It is actually a bilateral naval exercise between India and Indonesia. That is all that you need to study. So only this much is required. Next, we have a topic that is important for mains, and I have already told that this is a theme from which I am expecting a question in mains probably next year. The heading is not burning bright. I would advise you to go through this editorial because definitely you are going to get many new terms, accurate expressions which can be used in your answers in mains. So from the point of view of building up your vocabulary, I'll explain the concept here. You don't need to worry about the concept, but when you read an editorial, one of the biggest benefits that you have is that you build up your lexicon. Subject specific vocabulary gets built, and that enhances the presentation, the accuracy of your articulation. Now this is in the context of a man-animal interface or man-animal conflict. And specifically the killing of or targeted killing of tigers. Now, killing of tigers is a cause of concern because first point is that India has got 70% of global tiger population. So this is something that can be asked in prelims as well. And point number 2 is that killing of tigers, it compromises India's conservation efforts. So that is why this activity of targeted killing of tigers is a cause of concern. I've got a few points that are important from your prelims point of view. We have already seen that India has got 70% of global tiger population. The census, the tiger census that is, it was done in 2010, then in 2014, even in 2018, it is undergoing as of now. So the figures have not yet been released. In 2010, we had around 1700 tigers. In 2014 census, this figure bulged to around 2200, and this is a 30% increase compared to 2010. So this is something that can be asked, that compared to 2010, tigers have increased. So yes, that would be correct. The figure is not really important. You can use this figure in your mains, but in prelims you just need to know that compared to 2010, the figure of tiger population is rising. Then coming to the states, the maximum tigers are in Karnataka, followed by Uttarakhand. Minimum tigers are in northwestern West Bengal. In West Bengal, we have tigers in the northwestern part as well as in the Sundarbans. Now, Sundarbans has got many tigers. I think around 40 tigers are there in Sundarbans. You don't need the figures. Don't worry about 40, but northwestern West Bengal is the area which has got the minimum number of tiger, the population. So this can be asked in prelims. Maximum tigers are in Karnataka. Karnataka is rank 1 and Uttarakhand is rank 2. That is all that is needed in terms of tiger population. Now, the other thing that can be asked is the trend in tiger population. So most states, the tiger population is either increasing or stable. All right. Only in Jharkhand the tiger population has reduced. That is compared to 2010 versus 2014. Only in Jharkhand, all over India, only in Jharkhand tiger population has reduced. In all other tiger states, it has either increased or remained stable. So this trend is also something that can be asked in your prelims. Now let us talk about something which is more relevant for mains, and that is the reasons behind man-animal conflict. So I've already told you that man-animal conflict is an important theme. Question can appear next year. So why does it happen? What are the reasons? The first reason is habitat fragmentation and shrinkage. So the natural wild habitat is getting more and more fragmented and is shrinking in size. Now this is because of developmental needs. Now India's population is rising. We need to provide income security, food security. All those things have to happen, and to ensure sustainable development, to ensure increasing per capita income, multiple projects are built, infrastructure projects are there. So there are various projects under the broad heading of developmental needs. Then we can also have encroachment by locals. So the forest dwelling communities, they encroach the land, they clear out the land for probably building farms or biomass or all those things. So encroachment by locals is the other reason. I have a few figures here. 30 crore, approximately 30 crore Indians, they depend on forests directly or indirectly for their livelihoods. This figure is actually 2009 figure of MOEF. So it is a government figure. All right. The other fact is about the total number of protected areas in India, which are 668. Out of these, 50 are tiger reserves. Now this all these protected areas, they contribute about 14% of India's forest and about 5% of India's geographical area or India's land area. Now we have seen that India is home to 70% of global tiger species. The other similar point is not related to tigers but to Asiatic elephants. India is also home to largest population of Asiatic elephants. So again, a point that can be asked in prelims. So we were talking about these figures. Also, if you compare this figure with India, India has 2.4% of world's area or Earth's area, land area that is. It has got 16% of world's population, human population, and 16% of world's cattle population. So now you can put all the points that we are going to discuss under reasons in context. Developmental needs, you can see that India has got 17% of world's population, and it is going to become the most populated country in the world very, very soon. So all these projects and all those things, encroachment, everything is going to increase. The next heading, the next reason why man-animal conflict is increasing is increased disturbance in wild areas due to collection of non-timber forest products, fuel wood, water, etc. I have for some project during our college days, I have gone to Sundarbans, and it is said that Sundarbans has got many tigers, and we were at a location when where there was a river, and just across the river was the massive mangrove forest of Sundarbans, and we did not have the courage to cross the river and go into that forest. In fact, there have been many programs on discovery as well, wherein people in the Sundarbans, which are important honey collectors. Honey collecting is an important occupation in the Sundarbans area. Otherwise, Sundarbans is extremely poor. I have personally not seen poverty worse than that existing in Sundarbans, and honey collection is an important livelihood activity. So people go into those forests and to collect that honey, and get frequently attacked by the tigers. So collection of non-timber forest produce, fuel wood, water. Also, when population is increasing, more fuel wood would be required, more water would be required. Certainly when water is getting increasingly scarce, there is huge population of livestock, huge human population, so more chances and scarcer water resources. So the chances of interface between wild animals and humans will definitely rise in the coming future. So this is I told all this story to just tell you about the disturbance in wild areas which is happening because of all these activities. Once an animal gets used to the presence of humans are powerful only because of their brain. If we don't have claws, we don't have muscle strength otherwise, once the animals realize that these are weak creatures, they can attack. We become easy prey. So the more the disturbance in wild areas, more the encounters between man and animals, and more chances of tigers becoming man-eaters. So that is the thing. The next is the next point, the next reason why man-animal conflict is increasing. So monoculture of teak by forest department. Now, because teak plantations require clearing of forest land, so there will be shrinkage of habitat, and the lesser the natural habitat, the more the chances of man-animal conflict. Then I have already told you in this point in water, increasing water scarcity. This means reduction in the number of sources, and as the number of sources reduce, alongside the population pressure on that source increase, because not only wild animals require water, also humans and livestock need water. So increasing water scarcity is going to lead to increasing man-animal conflict. Then this particular thing is further complicated because of human interference in the natural drainage system. Human interference in the natural drainage system. Now, because man doesn't want to travel too deep into the jungle, naturally they are afraid. I mean, we were afraid to go into that jungle. I mean, it was almost as if the tiger was lurking behind those bushes and looking at us only. We were feeling like that. We were young, around say 21, 22 years. So it was that feeling. And just imagine the mental condition of people who have been attacked by tigers, whose kids, whose cattle have been taken away by tigers. So they don't want to go venture out into the jungle to fetch water. So human interference in the natural drainage system, that creates changes in the availability of water sources. So wherever water goes, wild animals will be drawn towards that water, and then again man-animal conflict is going to arise. The next point is reduction in prey base. Reduction in prey base of tigers because of poaching of herbivores, wild herbivores, deer and other things. So if natural prey base is not available, then they are going to attack livestock, they are going to attack humans. The last reason could be they simply attack out of fear. They don't want to attack, but because they have no other way. If anything is cornered, even if a person is cornered, if a wild animal, anything is cornered, it has got no other way to escape. It is going to attack in self-defense or attack out of fear. So the last reason is this. Coming to way forward, what could be the solution? So the first solution is follow the standard operating procedure laid down by the NTCA. Now this is a very comprehensive document which deals with the human tiger interface. So this must be followed religiously. And the second point is a corollary of this point, that we need to have monitoring groups to ensure that the SOP is being followed. Also, we can involve the locals in doing this. The Tiger Protection or Wildlife Protection Act, it is exclusionary in the sense this act assumes that it is people or locals who cause disruption or reduction in the population of wildlife, and that is why it excludes local people from management of wildlife. So this act is not providing to be effective. As against this, Forest Rights Act, which is more inclusionary, definitely this right has got certain problems, but we can remove those problems and we can have a legislation which is more on the lines of Forest Rights Act. That is, it will ensure participatory approach towards protection of wildlife. So this is another point. Then we have the fragmentation of wildlife habitats should be minimized. There is no limit to human needs. We need to reduce our needs. The most important solution to sustainable development is reduction of needs. But that is unattainable possibly. So what can be done is you manage your needs in whatever resources you have. You develop alternative technologies. You do whatever you make do with whatever resources you have. Don't eye natural habitats. Don't think that we can simply clear out a piece of forest land and just make another factory or agricultural land available. Instead of that, develop alternative technologies which can serve your needs. And even if it is virtually unattainable, the target of reduction of needs, government should promote reduction of consumption. Less consumerism is the most sustainable way ahead in terms of sustainable development. So reduction of consumerism, public awareness generation should be done in that angle, from that angle. Even if we have certain projects which are unavoidable, those projects have to be implemented. We must ensure safe connectivity or connecting corridors. Almost every other day you see reports in newspapers with elephants getting mauled by trains, with other wildlife getting hit by trains. So that is creating problems, because animals have got their own ways of living in the wild. They have got their own traditional habitat. So you must provide safe connecting corridors, even in case where projects are there which are indispensable. The next is provide LPG to villagers. Very direct and implementable and immediate solution. Provide LPG to villagers so that they don't have to venture out in the forest for collecting fuel wood or firewood. Next would be better water management. Water is getting increasingly scarce. Let the villagers, let the local population know how water can be managed better, more sustainably. So these things are going to reduce dependency on the natural forest resources and reduce the chances of man-animal conflict. The next point is avoid certain crops which attract animals. Crops like sugarcane, banana, bajra, these attract animals, wild animals, herbivores, because these are a good source of food. And from behind the herbivores, trailing the herbivores, are the carnivores. And these crops, they provide important or good hiding place also for the carnivores. So these kind of crops can be avoided in these areas. The next is prompt payment of compensation to attack victims. Now, once the compensation is paid promptly, now this is going to minimize the economic hardship the family would face, and certainly with less hardships there would be lesser anger in the family towards the guilty animal, the animal that has attacked the member. So prompt payment of compensation to attack victims is another very direct and implementable strategy. The next topic is related to air pollution, and this is not that much important for mains. It can be used as an addition to whatever information you have, so you can update your notes, but a dedicated question won't come. But definitely in prelims a question can appear from this topic. So the name of the topic is deny MSP to stubble burners. Now this was a suggestion of the National Green Tribunal, which was hearing a case on stubble burning, and the case argued that government efforts are not producing the desired results, and there were incentives and disincentives suggested to reduce stubble burning. So this denying of MSP was a disincentive which was suggested, and the NGT agreed with that. So that is all the context in which you need to know about this topic. In prelims about NGT, a question can come. So NGT was established by the NGT Act of 2010, and it is a special or specialized tribunal to deal with environmental matters. It deals only with environmental matters and nothing else. It follows the principles of natural justice. It doesn't follow the code of civil procedure. So it doesn't follow code of civil procedure. In its place, it follows the principles of natural justice. Then it draws inspiration from Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which encompasses the right to a healthy environment, and it is mandated to dispose cases or appeals within 6 months. Now this is the mandate. Then it has got 5 benches the principal bench is in Delhi and the other benches are in Bhopal, Kolkata, Chennai and Pune. So this is all the information that can be asked in your prelims about National Green Tribunal. So that will be all in this topic. The next topic is a very small addition to the topic of Montreal Protocol, especially the Kigali Agreement, which we did in the last lecture or the lecture before that. So I won't be covering those things which have been repeated in your notes, and only the things which are new, which are in addition, I will be providing you in this lecture. So the topic is report sees climate risk. Report sees climate risk from rise in Indian AC unit, air conditioner units. In Indian AC units. So there was a report and it concluded that by 2022, India would have 25% of world's air conditioners. Now, air conditioners emit HFCs. We have already seen HFC, CFC, HCFC in the last lecture. So there is a problem of HFC emission, and India is a signatory to the Kigali Agreement. We have done this last time, and the only new thing is that this agreement mandates India, China, European Union and USA to reduce use of HFC by 85%. You need to know this target. It has to be reduced by 85% by 2045. So this is the only new thing in this topic. All the other points have already been covered in the previous lecture where this topic was discussed. So we can move on to the next topic of our lecture, which is important for prelims mainly. In mains, it can be one of the examples of achievements of ISRO. In mains, actually, from the point of view of space and ISRO, many questions can come, and this is one of the greatest achievements of ISRO. So it can be asked from that angle. So the heading is GSAT 29 has a perfect launch. So this is the heading. Now let us talk about GSAT 29. Its features can be asked in prelims. So it is a multi-band, multi-beam communication satellite. All right. Multi-band means Ka band, Ku band, Q and V bands are covered in this satellite. So this can be asked in your prelims. The next point, it is India's heaviest satellite. Communication satellites are heavy, and the GSAT 29 is India's heaviest satellite till date. It weighs around 3,500 kgs. All right. The objective is to provide high quality, because it is a communication satellite, it is going to provide communication services. So high quality internet services and telecommunication services in India, including in remote areas like J&K, Northeast, etc. So it is going to provide that. The next is that it signifies successful testing please note the word testing. It has not yet been operationalized. So it signifies successful testing of GSLV. GSLV is the launch vehicle, particularly the Mark III and D2. D2 is not really important, but GSLV Mark III is the launch vehicle aboard which this satellite was launched. So it signifies successful testing of GSLV Mark III. So this means that now this satellite can be operationalized. All right, so all its tests have been done. It concluded to be successful. So now this satellite is officially operationalized. This means that Chandrayaan 2 and Gaganyaan missions will be launched on this launch vehicle. The next thing that can be asked about GSAT-29, and this is not given in your notes, so please I would advise you to write these points. This is the 13th satellite, or let me just rub it, write it again. So GSLV 29 is the 13th satellite aboard the GSLV, GSAT 29 it is. GSAT 29 is the 13th satellite aboard the GSLV, and it is the 6th consecutive success of GSLV. Now we have the GSLV has faced many failures, and this GSAT 29 is the 6th consecutive success of GSLV. Can be asked in prelims. Very, very important. The next point, it is the 67th mission to be launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center. And the next point, the last point under GSAT 29 is that this is the 33rd communication satellite built by ISRO, or 33rd communication satellite of India. So that will be all under GSAT 29. Now we can talk about the launcher, the GSLV Mark III. Okay, so the launcher is GSLV, Geostationary or Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, GSLV Mark III. So we have had GSLV Mark 1, we have had GSLV Mark 2, and now we are talking about GSLV Mark III, also known as Launch Vehicle Mark III, LVM3. This is its other name. That is the GSLV is a launch vehicle that is used for heavier satellites. India's workhorse, or ISRO's workhorse, is PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. So mainly this is used, but it cannot launch heavier satellites. So for heavier satellites like communication satellites, we required a bigger launch vehicle, which is the GSLV, and this is a 3-stage vehicle in which the first stage is solid, the second stage is liquid, and the third stage is cryogenic. Very, very important. If we compare it with the PSLV has got 4 stages, and it has got alternative solid and liquid stages. So the first and the third are solid, and second and fourth are liquid. Compared to this, GSLV has got only 3 stages, wherein first and second are solid and liquid, same as PSLV, but it is the third stage that is different, and which is cryogenic. The other thing is that PSLV and GSLV in the second stage, they use Vikas engine. The GSLV in the third stage uses the C25 engine. This engine has been indigenously developed by ISRO. The GSLV Mark III uses C25. Mark II used C20 engine. So this is important. So you need to be careful whether it is C25 or C20. The next point is that in this stage, liquid hydrogen is used as fuel and liquid oxygen is used as oxidizer. Very, very important. Liquid hydrogen is the fuel and liquid oxygen is the oxidizer, and both of these are stored in separate chambers or separate containers. So this is important. India is the only country in the world after USA, Russia, France, Japan and China to have cryogenic technology or cryogenic engine. So this is again great achievement of India. See, big countries like technologically big countries like United Kingdom, Germany, all those countries do not have cryogenic technology. India has got that, and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 5 other countries in the world have this technology. So this is something which should really, really make you proud. The next point is about the launches, the launch history of GSLV. And here also I expect a question, because the question around GSLV won't be very, very simple. It will be factual definitely, but those facts will not be very common facts. So eccentric facts could be used, and that is why I have collected this information. The first launch of the GSLV was in 2001, and this was the, let me write as GSLV here, this was the Mark I, and this launch was a failure. This was the launch of GSAT-1. So all these points you need to know, please write down as I'm speaking, or you can pause the video after I finish this table. The first launch was a failure, and the first success of the GSLV came in 2003. Here again we had the Mk1 engine, and this was the GSAT-2. So all this information, you need to be clear that GSAT-1 was the first launch and it failed, and the first success was in 2003 of GSAT-2, which used Mk1 engine. The important thing is that Mk1 engine was not indigenous. It was provided with Russian help, by Russia. So Mk1 engine was there. Then we had the first indigenous cryogenic engine, which was tested in 2010, and this was the Mk2 engine. So you need to be very, very sure that Mk2 was the first indigenous cryogenic engine which used C20 engine, and this launch was a failure. This was GSAT-4. All right. Just to be sure, do not think that GSAT-1 was the first launch. That means GSAT-2 was the second launch and GSAT-4 was the fourth launch. It doesn't work that way. Many INSAT satellites also have been launched aboard the GSLV. So these are just the names of the satellites to be remembered independently. Don't think that one stands for first and second stands for second launch. Not like that. So independently you must remember these names. So GSAT-4 was the first satellite to have indigenous cryogenic engine, which was C20 and Mark II, and it was tested in 2010, which was a failure. Important. Okay. The next is the first success of the indigenous cryogenic engine came in 2014. Very, very recently. It came in 2014 when we launched the GSAT-14. Okay, so important point. Next, we talk about the Mark III or the C-25 engine. So the first success of the Mark III came in 2014 only, and this was the CARE experiment. This was not a satellite. This again can be asked in prelims. They can say that in 2014 the first successful test flight of C-25 engine was GSAT-14 satellite or any other satellite. It was not a satellite. It was an experimental flight. CARE stands for Crew Module Atmospheric Re-entry Experiment. So Crew Module Atmospheric Re-entry Experiment. So this is about the Gaganyaan flight that is related to that, not a satellite. Please remember this. The first satellite to be the successful launch was GSAT-19, and this happened in 2017, and it also used the C-25 engine or Mark III. All the GSLVs that we are using since 2014 are Mark III only. So this table is what can be asked. There are a lot of facts. This is a simplistic looking table, but it is not simple. You will have to revise it many times. Multiple angles can be there from which a question can be asked just from this table. Leave out the other things. Just from this table, many questions can be asked. Now, the other thing which you need to remember is that there has been no failure since 2014. No failure in launching. All right, we are not talking about the GSAT 6 Alpha 6A, which was launched this year, earlier this year, and it was launched successfully, but the power got lost after it was put into orbit. So it was not a launch failure. So we can claim that there has been no launch failure since 2014 of the GSLV. All right, so this is another point. That will be all in this topic. You can take a sigh of relief now. No more facts, brain racking things. The last topic is a very simple one. It is related to sustainable development in the Himalayas, in the Himalayan region, and important from PT point of view, as in the states can be asked, which all states are there, and from mains point of view, it can be an addition in your sustainable development in the Himalayan regions topic. The heading is Niti Aayog constitutes the Himalayan State Regional Council. Himalayan State Regional Council. And the first point is that the Himalayan region has got its own unique challenges in terms of sustainable development. Now, because it has got its own unique challenges, Niti Aayog had established 5 working groups. Each of these had one focus area each. Now, this is given in your notes. Please refer your notes for the focus areas. And these working groups have submitted their reports, and the Himalayan State Regional Council, HSRC, this body will review and implement the reports of the 5 working groups. So that is all in this topic. The HSRC is composed of 12 Himalayan states. All right, the list is given in your notes. 12 Himalayan states plus some districts of Assam, not the whole states, a few districts only, a few districts of Assam and West Bengal. Interestingly, Meghalaya is one of the states in these 12, and physiographically Meghalaya is not a Himalayan state, because Himalayas are like from J&K till Arunachal and then the syntaxial bend. Meghalaya is here. It is a part of the peninsular plateau. We have the Rajmahal Garo Gap here, and then the peninsular plateau extends as the Meghalayan tableland. So physiographically it is part of the peninsular plateau, but in terms of planning it is part of the Himalayan region, the 12 states. So this is something, a small nugget that can be asked in prelims. So with this we come to the end of today's lecture. I hope you liked it. I enjoyed it as well. Until next time, study well. Take care.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil State.